Hello. So I'm about a week late. That's my MO apparently. Apparently I'm just late to everything. But I'm about a week late for talking about One Piece episode 1089. We entered Egghead! New opening, new closing. I watched it. I loved it. I want to talk to you about it. Loads of people commented asking me to check out this episode, and I'm so glad you did because I enjoyed it so much. It may have motivated me to watch more of the anime, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So, starting with the opening, I love the new opening. At first, I was a little bit unsure about the song, but after I watched the opening like 4 more times, it completely grew on me, and I love it too. But I love the new art style. I love how pastel, how colorful, and how almost abstract it is. It feels perfect for this new era of the Joy Boy, of Gear 5th, of Sun God Nika, who is this Looney Tunes-esque bringer of joy, bringer of liberation, and I think that the opening really matches that tone. This opening is riddled with Easter eggs. It's one of those things where it feels spoilery if you have feels spoilery if you've read the context and you know the context, but if you don't know the context, then it just seems like, whoa, what are we about to get into? And I think that they hit that balance so well, but there's so much going on here. So I'll just tell you some of my favorite things. I love that they started out by showing One Piece in multiple locations that will be on Egghead, like with the robot lifting it up, like the techno sort of setting, the Skypia clouds, and the jungle area where the Iron Giant is resting at the moment. So one thing that I'll probably keep repeating throughout this whole video is that this opening to Egghead, the opening song as well as the opening episode of Egghead does such a good job of subtly setting expectations. And this is one way. Egghead, the island, has so many different terrains and different places in such a small space, and showing the One Piece logo in all these different spaces that doesn't seem like it could all be cohesive, but somehow it is such a great depiction of what we're about to get into. So there's so many Easter eggs. I love having Luffy and Zoro on the couch because I loved that scene in the manga, but I also love all these characters that are also going to show up in the arc, kind of popping out of the screen, which I think is really cool because usually we're used to arcs being contained to the island, and Egghead really just kind of breaks those barriers and takes us everywhere. If you hear the noise in the background, it's because I film in the basement and it's raining, so the sump pump is kicking on. Doesn't matter. So this opening, I think, depicts that so well, where it shows the characters on the couch, which is something that we're going to witness in the anime. It's something that happened on the manga, but then you have the screen popping out, breaking the barriers, breaking the expectations, and showing other things in the world that we're going to be focusing on as well, showing how this arc breaks the barriers by breaking the barriers of that television screen, and then continuing that too, because then Luffy then breaks the television screen by popping into it. It's just like, I just love it so much. Gosh, there's so many good things. There's so many good things. You've got Kizaru, you have Kuma breaking through the cords that he was connected to in order to get to Egghead, in order to get to Bonnie. So you have him breaking free from his chains. You have the S shark. We have Jinbei's Seraphim, and he dives into the water because he has the swim fruit, and then up from that pops Bonnie. It's so visually beautiful, but also there's so much tucked in every single panel, scene, frame. And then, oh yeah, that was another thing I really liked. I loved having Shaka slowly turn, and if you haven't entered Egghead yet, then you don't know who Shaka is or why, but he looks so ominous in that scene, which is such a misdemeanor. Red herring. It's such a red herring, which is amazing because the beginning of Egghead arc is a whodunit. It's a and then there were none kind of situation where people are being picked off and we're trying to figure out who's the killer in the room. And you have Shaka, and usually with murder mystery, with mystery books, usually you have your red herring. You have the person that you're kind of pointing to, the narrative is pointing to make the reader think, oh, okay, I should be looking in that direction, and all the time stuff is going on in this direction. And that's exactly what this intro is doing. It's showing Shaka, who's masked. I mean, he's helmeted, and he's looking over his shoulder in this really ominous sort of way. So it looks like, whoa, okay, watch out for that guy. That seems sus. And you have the bloody handprints on the wall, which shows that, okay, murder maybe, or like something killery is about to happen with that guy. And that's such a red herring, because what actually happens is that guy gets murdered. That's so smart. That's so smart to make Shaka the red herring. And it's not lying, because he is going to look behind his back, and there will be blood everywhere. It's just that he's going to look behind his back and see the killer that kills him. I love it. I also love the depiction of the Seraphim, and specifically honing in on S. Snake, who is kind of getting patted on the head like, good girl, you're a good servant, but then it turns and you see her eyes instead, which also kind of leads to the fact that, yeah, you're under mind control, but she can break through that because of her core self, which we've been talking about constantly, that overrides your core instincts, that overrides any kind of control that tries to take you, which is what happens with S. Snake and what happens with Kuma and what happens with the shark at the beginning of Egghead, which we will see in this episode. Oh yeah, and then Luffy walking, and briefly we flash through all of his different outfits, which then leads into the crew slowly appearing according to the order that we got them, which then leads to them also changing according to the pattern on the flooring that matches the pattern in the arcs. And I love every detail of this. Daggone it. Yeah. Okay. I really love this part too. Gosh, I really like this song too. Again, first time I listened to it, I was like, doesn't really match the tone. The more I hear it, the more I adore it. Okay. This is one of my other favorite parts, of the many favorite parts. I love the square offs that they show with Kid against Shanks, and you can't even actually see that it's Shanks, so it's super duper not a spoiler. But then you also have Law and Blackbeard, which happens really early on in Egghead, so it adds the intrigue, but it's also not adding too much intrigue to something that's too far away. And then we have Garp and Akainu, which we already knew that Akainu was Kuzan. I'm so bad at names. Garp and Kuzan, which we already knew that Kuzan had defected, so that's really interesting, adding some intrigue. And then Zoro and Giraffe Boy. Usopp, not Usopp. His name is, I don't care. And then we have Luffy and Lucci. But it's not just the flashes of the square-offs that we're gonna see, it's also the progression of the smile, where you have Kid who looks furious, you have Law whose teeth are gritted and he looks frustrated, but then you have Garp whose smile is like coming up. Yeah. So his smile, his face starts serious, and it's slowly, the corner of his lips lift up slowly, and then you've got Zoro whose face is stuck with he's got a sword in his mouth, what are you gonna do? But then you have Luffy with the full-fledged smile. So it's not just that it's the people squaring off, but it's also the slow progression of demeanor within the fights as the intensity of the fight goes up. As the intensity of each fight gets bigger and bigger, so does the intensity of the joy of the people who are fighting. Oh yeah, I love this too! Okay, hints about Sabo. You have Morgans, who is covering his wing, like he's shielding the people that he's shielding. So his wing is covering Wapol, sort of, and Vivi completely. So I love that is making sure this is not a spoiler. They're not spoiling you of what's to come with Morgans, but also these people are hiding with Morgans right now. So he actually is shielding them in the story, and he's shielding them in the intro, and I just love it so much. Gosh, it's so good. Okay, whew, too many things. Okay. I love, again, looking out into what we're gonna get from the flashbacks, looking at what we're gonna get in the throne room, looking at the people that are falling in their fights. And then you have Vivi. It's so quick. Vivi reaches out and then it becomes Bonnie. Now, I don't know, you'll have to tell me, because I have seen like 3 One Piece. No, that's not true. I've seen a few more than that. I haven't seen a lot of One Piece episodes. I'm trying to get into watching anime, but I'm a reader first. So I don't know. Is it typical for the anime to know more than the readers do? Like, does Oda give anime people spoilers? And the creators of the anime people? Does he give the directors and writers of Toei spoilers and say, hey, by the way, this is about to happen with Vivi, so go ahead and work it into your opening as a clue. Does he do that? Because it's possible that when they made this opening, that they just didn't want to spoil that Bonnie was going to play a huge role in the arc, or that Bonnie was going to, you know, touch the Kuma bubble. Like, they could have been that they just didn't want to spoil that, but they still wanted to show it for those of us who are in the know. So they just showed Vivi because she plays a significant role, but then they quickly transformed her into Bonnie so nobody would really notice to get us to the Kuma bubble. Or it could be confirmation or a clue, I guess, that Vivi actually is going to get Kuma's devil fruit after he dies in this arc, which a lot of people have been speculating. I don't know. I'm just not sure how much the anime people would know. I mean, that's a really killer clue if they might know. And then it just comes full circle with Luffy laying back down in the same spot at the end, telling his dream. And then the episode opens with him telling his dream. I love it so much. Oh, gosh. Okay. Love that opening. I've watched it, I think only like 5 times now. So, you know, probably less than you, honestly. But those are the highlights. All of it. The whole thing's the highlight. Then we start the episode off with them having heard Luffy's dream. I love everyone's reaction to this. I love Jinbei laughing, crying, laughing, saying, I was supposed to just follow this dumb boy. Or I don't remember. What was his line? I came to follow such a troublesome captain. I love it. I love his reaction. I love Jinbei's mature, strong, steady vibe in this crew. He doesn't get very much page time, but I just adore his character so much. But then everybody, you know, you have Chopper celebrating, saying saying this is such a great dream, and Nami saying this sounds like you. Frankie's response is just, all right, cool. Let's make it happen. Get another poneglyph. Come on. And Robin bringing them back down to earth. I love that their reaction is full of so much joy and so much like, yeah, that's our captain. But then also, okay, let's make it happen for you. I think it's beautiful. I love how much emphasis there is on the crew here. I desperately miss our crew. I think that they just don't get enough page time anymore, and I miss the way they interact with each other. I miss their these moments. And we got a few of them in this episode, and it was just unbelievably satisfying for me. I really enjoyed Morgan's recap for everything. It was quick, but it was also, it flowed so nicely with him slapping the pictures down, and I don't know, it flowed really nicely, and then that's followed by Sabo's call, which raises that intrigue and shows the Revolutionary Army and their reaction. I thought all that was really good. Moving on to one of my favorite parts of this whole episode, which there are many of, is the Lulusia thing. It was so well done. It did such a good job at capturing dread, I think better even than the manga did. It showed the children playing and the people panicking, the fear and the sense of, oh, we're about to be destroyed and there's nothing we can do about it. It did such a good job of really zooming its focus in on the people instead of it just being, whoa, Emu just wiped an entire island off the map and erased it from, was just like, it's not there anymore. It never was there. Instead of just emphasizing the power of it and then also, okay, now where's Sabo? What happened with Sabo? Instead of focusing on the scale of it, it focused in on the people of it. And once again, I think that this was executed so well because it sets the tone for what this arc is. This is what Oda does in this arc. He hones in on the people with Kuma and his family, with the celestial dragons that are going to wipe out all the natives of a certain land just for sport, and it focuses in on the slaves that are being hunted, on just a few, and on what that is for them. All throughout this arc, in the most horrifying parts of the arc, he's not focusing in on the evil, though that's very clearly there and that does get some emphasis, the main focus is on the people and on the suffering and on what it costs, not just on, you guys are really bad, you're doing some really scummy things, but it's focusing on the individual so that we're more attached to how much this is truly costing the world for these people in power to be allowed this free reign. And that's exactly what the anime did for Lulusia. It set that tone for what this arc does throughout the rest of the arc by honing in on the individuals and showing the loss of a life, not just the loss of an island, but the loss of life. The music was so intense, but then when the music cuts and it says, "No such country in the first place," it was so effective. It was so powerful. The dread that just leapt off the screen when the mother flame was activated and these people that we just so briefly saw in terror, we watched them get wiped out. I don't think it could have been better. Another favorite scene comes directly after that when we see the Straw Hats sailing in this storm, in this impossible situation. And I think that is a great follow-up because cutting to the Straw Hats also in peril, but a different kind of way. So it doesn't feel like we're going from this dread and this horror that we just watched into happy, funny times. It's still into moments of peril, but we're lightening the mood. We're softening the mood a little bit because it's the Straw Hats and we don't fear for their lives. We know they're going to be fine. And because just by nature, they are comedic. So it was a great softening of tone that didn't feel too jarring. I think it was really good transition. But then also, anyway, I love spending time with the Straw Hats. Some of my favorite little highlights is Zoro and Sanji always. I love how they bicker. I love that everybody was freezing and miserable. And then you've got Zoro just chilling in the background, shirtless. And Sanji's like, "Are you not cold?" He's like, "It's a state of mind." And then they just start bickering right away. And then when it's like, okay, we have to man the ship. Like we have to start doing stuff. They're bickering while they're pulling rope. They're bickering while they're climbing up the rope ladder. They're bickering when Zoro says he'll slice through the warm eddy and Sanji is like, "You better not hurt the girl." And he's like, "Shut up." I love Brooke running like a noodle in the storm. It was so funny. And then when they get to the warm eddy and Brooke in the voice actor's awe when he's like, "It looks like an afro." It was so amazing. Robin and Chopper just chilling in another room. Chopper chilling in another room makes sense. He'll get blown away by the storm. There's not much he can do. Robin, get out there! You've got like a zillion hands. You could be helping them pulling rope and helping them stabilize the ship. You could attach one hand to the bottom of the ship or to the side of the ship, on the side of the ship, and then just bring your hands all the way down to the bottom of the ocean and anchor yourself there. Your arms would get crushed. Don't do that, actually. I mean, I know it's One Piece and people are built different, but the ocean, it wouldn't work out. Robin, you could be helping, but I'm happy for you to be just chilling and reading instead. Robin and Chopper, their love for each other is amazing, but then their little conversation, Chopper putting on his hat, he's like, "I got this, it's gonna be fine," and he's just so cute. I think Chopper translates better to the anime than the manga for me. I'm not Chopper's biggest fan in the manga. I don't dislike him. His humor doesn't land for me, and I think he's cute, sure, but his cuteness doesn't land for me either. Does that make sense? I think visually he's cute, but when he's being cute, it's kind of lost on me. Like I don't go, "Aw, sweet Chopper," but in the anime I do, because it was so sweet. Anyway, another favorite thing in this episode for me is how beautiful it is. The whole episode is very visually enjoyable to watch, but the warm eddy is gorgeous. The colors of it are stunning, and then the light that it cast on the Straw Hats as well is beautiful. This whole scene, I love the lighting in this scene. And again, back to Brooke's comment about it looking like an afro, I love that I, the watcher, was just staring in awe at the colors and the lighting, and I thought it was so beautiful. And then Brooke, too, is marveling at its beauty. But because it looks like an afro, I just think that that's a great, like, "Oh, you're matching me. We're both in awe of afro." I love it. I love it so much. Anyway, Chopper gets blown up by the storm. Luffy grabs him. He gets blown up by the storm. Zoro slices through the warm eddy, which I love that his response to everything is, "No problem. I'll cut it. And so he slices through it. He does manage to get somehow all the way through it without cutting Bonnie. It's fine. And then Luffy grabs her and she's screaming, pay attention to what's around you, look down. I love Usopp when they realize they're about to get, chomped to death. I love Usopp running away and screaming, but it's like, where you running to, pal? You're on a ship in the middle of the ocean and this shark is going to gobble up the whole ship. Where you going? But it doesn't matter where he's going. He just needs to run, and I love that for him. And then it's to be continued, which was very rude. I was enjoying myself so much. I wasn't ready for the episode to end, but we're about to now be introduced to the shark, which will then introduce us to Lilith, who will introduce us to what I believe is the core theme, or one of the core themes of, one of the core themes of this arc, which is that they can't control the core instinct of things. She gave the shark a command, she gave the sea beast a command, but it didn't work out because their core instincts are still overpower things. Enter Kuma, enter S-Snake. Anyway, the closing two, I really enjoyed. It was a slower song, beautiful, as well as slower animation, and it focused more on the crew and their big moments, and I thought that was really beautiful. And then you have the chibis, Robin and Chopper, explaining for the kids what's going on in the world events so that they can keep up, which I think is cute. Anyway, I haven't watched a lot of the anime, but I will say that this episode has me really wanting to try to keep up with it. I realized that this episode was a really big deal because it was the introduction to Egghead. We're entering the final saga, the next island, so probably a lot more attention to detail was given to it, but I really enjoyed this. So I think I'm gonna at least try to keep up with the anime week to week and see how it goes, because I'm really excited to see how Egghead plays out in the anime, and I'm starting this arc with the fandom. So it's not like I, caught up while we're in Wano and I'm just gonna enter in the middle or near the end of Wano. I'm actually starting at the beginning of something. So I don't know, I think I'm gonna try to follow it. I'm not gonna make videos on it unless it's just like an amazing episode like this one. But I think I'm gonna maybe keep up with the anime a little bit. We'll see. I'm starting to get into anime too, and it's going well for me so far. Anyway, those are my thoughts on episode 1089 of the One Piece anime. Thanks so much for commenting so much, telling me to watch it, because I really, really, really loved it, and I would love to hear from you. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? I post videos every Monday and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on the book channel, which is always linked in the description. I'll see you again soon. Bye.